Now, I'm getting this question a lot on my Facebook account and even through emails. And I believe it's a question which is on every Kenyan's mind. Will there be an election on the 26th of October 2017? Now, I've said here many times, never listen to what politicians say. Okay? If you want to make, analyze something properly, whatever you hear politicians saying should be taken with a pinch of salt. In fact, with a pinch of plenty of salt. Now, this is because politicians have an agenda. All over the world, this is how politicians behave. They always play their cards under the table. They'll never show you their true cards. Okay? So the result is a politician could be saying one thing, while actually behind the scenes, they're working very hard to do the exact opposite of what they're saying. This is normal, it happens, okay? So let's just analyze this very coldly. Yeah, let's analyze the facts on the table and see if we can determine the likelihood that we'll actually have an election on 26th October. Because if we don't have an election, the repercussions and the consequences are quite large, yeah, quite big, quite huge, yeah. Yeah, so let's just analyze this. Now let's simplify it. For an election to take place, what needs to happen is that both parties must be willing to go into an election. Okay? Jubilee must be willing to go into an election, and NASA must also be willing to go to an election. Now, these are extraordinary circumstances because ordinarily, when a general election is called, this issue does not arise because you just prepare your party for the elections must take place. However, because the original or the initial elections were declared null and void, yeah, and that the Supreme Court ordered the country to go back into elections in 60 days, there's now room for political mischief. There's room for political mischief because of the ruling. The ruling said that IBC were to blame. Okay, so that in itself creates a lot of room for political mischief, solid excuses, even legal excuses. Okay, that is really the position. So let's start with NASA. Are NASA willing to go into an election? Well, it should be obvious. They're the opposition. They want to get into government as soon as possible. So NASA are very willing to go into the election. Okay, so I hear you asking me the question. So are you serious that they're willing to go into an election? Then why are they behaving the way they are? The answer is very simple. Yeah, and I've said this many times here before. If somebody robs you, okay, somebody robs you, and then what would your attitude be to that person after the robbery? And it is such and such a person who robbed you. Okay, you'd be very wary. Yeah, you would not trust them. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, trust is required here. Both sides need to trust each other, and there also needs to be goodwill between both sides. Okay. Now, this is very difficult at the moment because not only were the elections stolen from Jubilee, as was confirmed by the Supreme Court, but the side that benefited from the theft has not created a conducive atmosphere, has not reached out, yeah, has not even been repentant, yeah, and obviously this will cause more anger. Somebody robs you and they're still out there swaggering around and saying, I didn't rob you, who do you think you are, blah, blah, blah. They're throwing words at you, and yet they've robbed you. Of course, that creates a lot of tension, yeah. So the issue is right now, the truth of the matter actually is that NASA are very willing to go into elections, but they're scared. Maybe that's not the right word. They're wary, yeah, that the election will be stolen yet again. That those who did the evil thing they did on August 8th will just do a repeat of exactly what they did. But the signs on the ground are that NASA are willing to bend over. They're willing to sit on the table. Even although they say irreducible minimums, they have shown a lot of eagerness to talk with the other side. They've shown a lot of eagerness to sit down and discuss this issue. Oops, we interrupt this Kumekucha video for a brief message of interest. I'm really excited today to announce this golden new opportunity for you to reach a huge audience in Kenya and all over the world with the brief commercials for your business. They will of course interrupt our videos just like this message you're taking in. And like the Kumekucha videos, they'll be permanent. And what is more, we are so committed to ensuring that you get the results you desire that will allow you to place the spot for free. Yep, you'll not pay for it. Yeah. You'll only pay for it when you're fully satisfied with the results. Of course, you'll request a small fee for the video production, but it's a pittance. This is a golden opportunity for you, and I recommend that you take it on immediately. Get all the details you require in the video description area on this video on YouTube. Thanks so much for listening to me, all for a better Kenya. Now let us get back to your Kumekucha video. Let's move on to Jubilee. Now Jubilee, of course, have been telling us that they are very ready for the election. And what they have done, they've spent most of their times blaming NASA for being scared of an election, of not wanting an election, okay? But what is the reality on the ground? The reality on the ground is that Jubilee does not want an election. Why do I say that? There's plenty of evidence in the public domain that Jubilee have done everything to provoke NASA, yeah? To provoke NASA in such a way that NASA would not have any appetite for an election, okay? What do I mean? There are various things that have happened. We're talking about NASA principals being stopped at the airport and being told that from henceforth they will require clearance. They would require clearance from State House before they travel out of the country. Very unconstitutional, but those are the orders from above. That's what they were told at the airport. Of course, the government has since denied the story, as they usually do. But that is the truth. They were actually stopped at the airport. They were held, okay, and prevented from traveling, yeah, for a while, until after a long period of time, I believe the negotiations, was the talking back and forth, then finally they were allowed, and then they were told what I've just told you. They were told in future, if you need to travel out of the country, bear in mind that you need clearance from State House. But I believe by far the biggest piece of evidence to prove that Jubilee does not want an election is the way they have behaved in Parliament, by trying to change the electoral laws in a big hurry, okay? Now, obviously, that's a sign of provocation. They know very well, they're not idiots, they're very clever people, very smart people. They know very well that the changes that they're proposing will not go down well with NASA, yes? And yet we know for any law to be passed, there has to be some kind of agreement by all parties in the House. Even if they oppose, this is something that has to be discussed and thrown around between the parties. But what is happening with this particular election laws, they're being bulldozed to go through as quickly as possible. Now, why would Jubilee not want an election? Why? Yeah, the early election was nullified. Wouldn't they be eager to go into another election so that they get elected? Well, the answer is clear. If it is true that Jubilee is very popular, if it is true that Jubilee won the election, the first election which was nullified, then it would have been very easy. They'd have had a lot of confidence. But the way Jubilee is behaving now, they are behaving like a party which is very scared, yeah, a party which does not have any confidence, yeah, because talking and doing are two different things, okay? If you're so scared of the upcoming elections that you need to rush to Parliament to change laws quickly, then that tells you a lot. And what should become crystal clear by now, what should have become crystal clear by now, is that the reason why Jubilee don't want an election is because they do not know, they know that they cannot win a free and fair election, okay? So what Jubilee want, they want a situation where there are enough loopholes, there are enough things to work with to ensure that they rig the election without getting caught this time, okay? That's really what it is. And so in my humble view, we're in a very difficult position because Jubilee does not want elections, although it's pretending that they do, okay? The truth is they don't want elections, especially an election they do not think they can win, right? On the other hand, NASA want an election, but they have many buts. But unless they have said, unless there are reforms within the IBC, including the firing of one person called Ezra Chiloba, Ezra Chiloba. So does that sound to you like there's going to be an election on 26th? Is there any possibility that a miracle could happen and some sort of agreement would be reached between the two sides? Yeah? Is there a possibility that international pressure will be enough to bring some sense back into the Kenyan politics and especially into Jubilee? Yeah? Those are questions that I don't have answers to. Yeah? But you also have an opinion, I'm sure. Yeah? My view is that it is very, very unlikely that Kenyans will go to the poll on 26th. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.